Welcome to the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry. So happy to have my special guest for a special American Roundtable here on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network. One Jan Edwards, the founder and CEO of Paving the Way, an organization committed to being a fierce disruption in the cycle of child trafficking around the globe. That's right. We're taking a look at child trafficking on today's American Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network across the country. If you want to find out more about this great show and other great programming on Tough TV, check out toughtv.com, TUFFTV.com. And if you want to find out more about American Roundtable, facebook.com/USA Roundtable. Jan Edwards, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Al. Very happy to be here today.
As long as I can remember, I've had an interest in the scourge known as human trafficking. Not really knowing too much about it, but just knowing that this is a terrible abuse of people, the same type of slavery that we experienced here in America up until the 1860s, but now worldwide and underground.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about what is human trafficking.
Sure. So I'm going to start a bit farther back. And ever since the Emancipation Proclamation, we've actually had this thing called indentured servitude. And that's really what has continued to happen. Slavery's never really gone away. We think it has, but it hasn't. So human trafficking is actually, I'm going to distinguish it in two ways, right? One, there's over 18 and under 18. Is the use of fraud or coercion to have someone or force someone to do something you would never choose to do. Okay, it can involve transportation or not. It can involve indentured labor, indentured servitude, domestic servitude, or sex trafficking. If you're under the age of 18, none of that has to happen because we assert no child would choose to be trafficked and be used sexually. We assert no child would choose to be forced to work laborious jobs for little to no money. So for a child under the age of 18, no threats, no fraud, no coercion, no movement has to take place. And we, in the state of Florida and the United States government, deem that child as being trafficked. Over the age of 18, one of those things has to happen: fraud, threats, coercion. And so that's really the layman's terms definition of human trafficking. You can go on the FBI website, Homeland Security website, several websites to get the actual definition of it for you. And I actually encourage you, because most people don't know what we're talking about. Most people don't really, they're like, human trafficking, sex trafficking today? What do you mean? It's not happening here in the United States. It's happening over there. Well, I'm here to tell you, Al, that it's happening right here in our cities, right here in our counties, right here in the United States.
This is not a third world problem.
No, it is not. You know, according to Homeland Security, approximately 300,000 children a year are lured into this life. The average age is 12.
Jan Edwards, my guest today on American Roundtable, and of course you can check out more about American Roundtable at facebook.com/USA Roundtable. More on this fascinating chat with Jan in a moment. But first, just remember that you can always catch American Roundtable every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. right here on the Tough TV Network. We are on great stations like Tough TV 38 in Orlando, Florida. Check them out and check us out. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry. So happy to have my guest, Jan Edwards. She's the CEO and founder of Paving the Way, which is an anti-human trafficking organization trying to alert people to the dangers that exist even in their own neighborhoods. Orlando, Florida, being number 3 in the nation in human trafficking. Number 3 in the whole entire nation. The friendliest place on earth is also can be a dangerous place, I guess.
Yes, it can.
What's going on there?
Well, and it's important that our facts are as accurate as they can be, right? So Orlando has the 3rd highest number of human trafficking cases per capita.
Per capita.
In the United States, behind Houston and Atlanta.
Atlanta's
so that's
number 1.
Yeah, well, Houston and Atlanta, they
trade
interchange.
Off.
They do.
Okay.
They interchange, yeah. So human trafficking, most people think it's an over there issue. And what people don't really understand is our children are being intentionally recruited using this little snappy device right here. You know, online social media, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Kick, Musically, Lively, any of those apps where you can talk to another
I don't
person.
even know some of those apps.
Yeah.
I guess I better get updated.
Well, you're not the target audience, Al. Sorry. Any of those apps that a child can engage with another person is a potential risk. And what happens, you know, in today's society, our children are challenged. They really are. There's a disconnection between many of times them and their family and their friends, them and society. And so this is a really simple way to feel connected, but it's not really connected. So, and it's also to become like the sounding board, like the town crier, right? So what we do is the kids will go online and say, my mom, fill in the blank, my dad, whatever, my teacher, my siblings, my brother, my best friend, my boyfriend. Bottom line is they made me mad. Something happened and I'm upset. And what happens is these predators will troll all the social media looking for the lost, the lonely, and the rebellious. And so they'll immediately connect with them online and go, gosh, you know what? My mom did the same thing. Let's get together and complain about our parents together. And what they don't know is on the other side, sometimes, is an older individual specifically recruiting them, specifically grooming them, specifically putting a wedge between them and the life that they know. There was right here in Orlando, a 14-year-old girl thought she was on Facebook with another 14-year-old girl, when in reality it's a 34-year-old man that came down from Illinois, scooped her up, and luckily they found her in Georgia. And it's that fast, because we all want to be loved. We all want to be told we're beautiful and we're handsome and we're smart and we're all these great things, because mostly we're told we're not. And if you look at magazines, not everybody looks like that. Right? So any kind of positive feedback we can get, we're drawn towards. And these predators know this. They are master manipulators, and they are going after our children.
This is very, very disturbing, obviously, information, and especially in lieu of the fact that there are some powerful people involved in this. This is not just an underground, two-bit organizations or gangs, or there's some serious infrastructure with this.
There is. Well, you know, the gang culture has gone from drug trafficking to human trafficking, because drugs is an interaction. You pay me money, I give you the drugs. That's how that happens. With human trafficking, and it's a one-time interaction, with human trafficking, they can sell these little girls and these little boys over and over and over again. One child is worth about $250,000 a year. And the recruiters and predators they'll take their time to recruit these children and pull these children in.
Because they're worth $250,000 a year.
Absolutely. And they'll use many different tactics. There's the Romeo tactic, the guerrilla tactic, you know, that they'll come in and have these children feel loved and wanted and appreciated.
Let's talk about some of these tactics in the next segment. I'm happy to have Jan Edwards, CEO of Paving the Way, an organization committed to being a fierce disruption in the cycle of child trafficking all over the world. What's the website?
It's www.stoptraffickingtoday.com.
Stoptraffickingtoday.com with a CK, right? Trafficking.
Yes.
So stoptraffickingtoday.com. We'll have more on the American Roundtable on Tough TV right after this. Welcome to the American Roundtable. So glad to have you back with us for this insightful discussion. Once in a while, we like to do special versions of the show where we take an important issue facing Americans today and extrapolate upon it. But I'm very happy to have Jan with us. She's the founder, CEO of Paving the Way. Jan, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Al.
Let's talk about a couple of these tactics that you mentioned earlier in the show. One is called Guerrilla, one is called Romeo. There's a couple other ones, but let's talk about these. This sounds
Sure.
Romeo probably sounds like seducing.
Very much so. Well, and they profess love very quickly. You know, you're my one and only. And they also want the relationship to stay secret, because it's generally an older individual and a younger girl. So it could be 18 and 14. It could be 22 and 16, just older. And, you know, they profess undying love, promise this fairy tale, I'll take you away. And, you know, you could be living a great life. You could be. There are children, that's the thing about trafficking and recruitment, modern day slavery, is there is no socioeconomic no demographic, no geographic boundary. So there are children recruited all the way down at the age of 6, generally by a family member. There are women and men recruited at all the way up to age 75 for money and work. So the Romeo tactic.
All the way up to age 75.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a story about that one in
Wow.
a second. So, Romeo is exactly what it says. There's, courting, there's seduction, there's promises of a better future. It's like some fairy tale because, quite frankly, we all want to be saved. We all want to marry the prince. And they know this. So they actually go at it that way and pull you in, separate you from your friends and your family. And then the next thing you know, it's you and that person. And then, baby, I love you and we're short on rent. I need you to go do this thing for me.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you're turning tricks, but you love him. And
you're doing it for the relationship.
Absolutely. And I watched a documentary about women that were survivors of domestic violence. Every single one of these women said, I still love him. So the psychological damage done by these perpetrators is long and far-reaching. The guerrilla tactic is more exactly as it implies. Really beating you up, gang rapes, threatening your friends, threatening your family, really threatening your very survival, along with, the human brain can only handle so much trauma cognitively. And so that's why a lot of these young women and young men get hooked on drugs. The pimp hooks them on drugs. They don't pimp to get drugs. They pimp to stay on the drugs because the pimp put them on the drugs. Right. So they sell themselves. So because if you've ever watched someone go through DTs, it's not fun. And what the pimp will do is they'll actually take their part of their stable and they'll actually have them go just to the edge. And they're like, if you don't ever want to experience that again, you're going to make sure you meet your quota every day. So guerrilla is exactly what it's determined. So the story I was going to tell you, a friend of mine's a private eye, and he was on his way to Las Vegas for a conference, and he was sitting on the outside, the aisle seat, and there was an older man in the middle and this other, groovy kind of dude sitting in by the window. And the groovy dude was just kind of talking to no one, and the older man was all, sitting like this. And he was saying, well, I don't think we should, I think we should get an Escalade. If we're going to roll up to the Bellagio, we got to be able to, roll up looking fine. And I think we should go by Armani and get a new suit. And, and the old man just was sitting there doing nothing. And because my friend knows, he's trained, he rescues people from out of trafficking, he knew what to look for. He went and talked to the flight attendant. When they landed, they arrested this guy, and sure enough, this older man was being trafficked, was being used for his money. So there is no age boundary, there is no financial boundary, there's no geographic boundary. It can happen anywhere, and that's why we are committed to educating our kids, because they're the commodity. So we teach them what trafficking looks like, the tactics, the grooming tactics and recruitment tactics that are used to lure them in. And to really trust their gut, because you know what, we as a society, we teach people not to pay attention to this anymore. And we're like, no, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. So back off, stay away, do some more research before you just jump right in that car with that person.
Don't be hasty.
Yep.
Remember that phrase? Nobody says that much anymore.
Don't be hasty.
Don't be hasty. This is American Roundtable. Be hasty about sticking around, though. We'll have more with Jan Edwards right after this. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. Thank you for joining us on your half hour of political power, but a special show today about human trafficking with my friend and CEO, founder of a great organization called Paving the Way, anti-human trafficking organization. Jan, you've been only doing this, you said earlier, for about 4 years. How did you get involved in it?
So I was invited to the Get Health Summit at the UN. A few years ago.
What is the Get Health
Summit?
Summit?
The Get Health Summit, it's an international health summit about, really how do we improve health around the globe. And I met this extraordinary man there who has a 501c3 called People to People. He's from Ethiopia, and he gathers the diaspora of Ethiopia to really help the people still living there. And we met, just exchanged cards, sends me a text, hey, it's Dr. Mahari, how's it going? And he's a neurologist, by the way, at Vanderbilt. And so we popped a couple emails back and forth. He's like, hey, going to Ethiopia next month. You want to go? I was like, how often do you get invited to go to Ethiopia?
I'd never been invited to go to Ethiopia. It sounds interesting.
So I went, and it was there that I not only witnessed, what I thought was trafficking, I wasn't clear, but really where I learned the magnitude of this. Ethiopia's got 7.5 million orphans. They're the number one source of human trafficking into the Middle East. It was like, what? Yeah, it's, so I was like, I got to do something about this. It was really laid on my heart from God. It really was. This is a God-driven, this is not, unclear. If Jan had a choice, Jan would be doing something else. And it's just what I'm doing, right? It's my mission here. So I came back home and I started to do some research. And that's when I discovered Florida was number 3 in the country. And I was like, okay, Ethiopia, I love you. I gotta make a difference in my backyard first.
Well, charity begins at home, but
it does.
and
it totally does.
there's also ripples that you can reverberate to.
Absolutely. So so that was like the beginning of it, and I started getting all these things from, I've got friends in the anti-trafficking movement. I did this thing called the Fireball Run, where it's a 8-day road rally where you literally drive around and raise awareness for missing children. And my partner was a survivor, Teresa Flores, extraordinary woman, and I literally was driving to go visit my mom one day. She had been in a rehab center, and I was literally like, dude, what do you want me to do with all of this? Because all this stuff kept coming to me, and I knew I was supposed to do something. Come out from visiting my mom, and I hear the word documentary. I'm literally driving down Curry Ford Road, turning right into 436. It was right there. I'm like, documentary, whatever. Go get gas. I'm filling up my car, right? And this time it's super loud. I'm like, fine, whatever. So I go home, I open up my laptop, and I wrote our award-winning film, Trapped in the Trade, over a weekend.
Very
it
fast.
Was totally a divine download.
Wow.
And we got it produced. We shot it in 2 weeks. We got it edited in about 6 weeks. And we've been on the road taking that film everywhere. We've shown the film in New York. We've shown the film in Miami. We've shown the film all over Orlando.
Can people see it? Is it online?
They cannot, because the film does not have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually designed to open up people's minds as to how this works. So we can actually have a conversation. It's part of our training programs that we bring into kids. We go in and we train and educate children about human trafficking, and more importantly, what to do to prevent it. Because that's the key. I really believe by empowering our children to know what's happening, they actually now have the choice of what to do with their bodies.
Well, these trafficked kids often end up dead, is my guess, right?
You are correct. The average length of stay in that they call it the life is 7 years.
The life.
So if you're recruited 13, 14 years old, you're probably not going to make it to your 22nd birthday.
You'll be gone before.
Yeah, whether it's an overdose or, worse.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And that's why we're committed to educating our kids. Because if they know and question, as a child, we go through that gangly stage, right? Middle school, braces, glasses, curly hair, whatever that is.
Yeah, the bullying and all that stuff.
All of that, right?
That stuff,
just being unsure of our bodies. And you go into high school, and then all of a sudden, everybody develops, right? We figured out how to use the straightener. You've traded glasses for contacts. And now all of a sudden, you're getting attention that you've so longed for. But now it's like, hang on a second. You made fun of me in 7th grade, and now you want to take me out? I want children to do the thinking. I'm committed that they do the thinking. Yes, it feels good that this, attractive young man or this beautiful young girl wants to date me. But I want the children to just pause for a minute. And I tell the kids, I said, look, if that happens to you, I said, one way to really get a sense of if this guy really wants to date you, go great. You can come over and have dinner with our parents.
Yes. There you go. Call him out on it.
Right then and there, you're going to know whether he means it or not.
Before you go, I want to ask a couple of things.
Sure.
There was legislation recently passed which shut down Backpage,
Yes,
and
and
it shut down the
Craigslist.
personal Craigslist page.
Yeah, yes.
What was that about? What was going on with those sites, and what's
Right.
the repercussions
So
of that?
it's a much longer conversation than the 2 minutes that we have. But I want I'm really inviting your viewers to go look up SESTA and FOSTA. And those were the laws that were passed that actually shut down Backpage and shut down the personals of Craigslist. Because what was happening is these children were being recruited and they were being sold online. And what Backpage was doing that was so just horrific is somebody would upload an ad and it would say a particular age. Well, Backpage would change the age. They would change the line so they wouldn't get in trouble, and they could still run the ad. And so many times, the police knew that their child was missing, and they'd go online, right? And that's how they would find them, is because these young girls and these young boys were actually being sold online. Now, there's many other ways that this is happening. Plenty of Fish is one of the big ones. Really, any dating site is how they.
But the free ones are especially kind of.
Yeah, well, Plenty of Fish is free.
Yeah.
And then you're also dealing with the dark web. So look, people will, as long as there's a desire for this, it will continue to happen. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of organizations are, end the demand, people not porn. I'm really going after the demand side as well, because you really have to look at what is it that has someone desire that. And we got to educate the men the impact this is having on our society. Because when we get the men involved and they're like, nope, no more, not on my watch, not happening, we can really start to change the tide of this.
I agree. Getting the men involved is very important.
Absolutely.
If you want to find out more about what Jan does, about what her organization, Paving the Way, does, the website again?
Stop Trafficking Today. And it's the literal human trafficking, not traffic that you're dealing with on any of your freeways.
StopTraffickingToday.com. StopTraffickingToday.com.
And they can also follow us on social media, Paving the Way.
Paving the Way.
We put a lot of information on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and our Instagram page.
Thank you, Jan Edwards. I'm Al Spry for American Roundtable. Remember to keep it real and keep it tough.